In this video, I'm going to be doing the final cleanup and file work that I need to get done before I can start assembling the latch. But before I can do that, I need to cut out a couple of more plates. I'm going to be adding a plate to the front and the back of the latch, and they're basically just to give extra bearing support for the latch handle, just so that I don't wear the sheet metal out of round in use. The technique I'm going to use for cutting out the plates is exactly the same that I use for the sheet metal that I use for the front and back plates. Only this is 1/8 inch plate, so you have to approach it a little bit differently. You have to make sure that you don't cut the shape out too close to the finished line. If you do that, you're not going to have enough leverage to break off the sections. So for example, if I cut out the shape along this line that I've drawn here, you're not going to have enough material to clamp it in the vise securely enough to break off that piece. Even the blank oversized and cutting down to the line, all of these pieces are going to break off very easily. So now that I have all the pieces roughed out, it's just a matter of doing the decorative file work that's going to give these pieces a little bit more dimension. And that was traditionally done by filing in decorative chamfers along the outside edge. I'm going to start by filing in the bevel in the large curve between the top finial and the main body of the plate. I'm going to be using a half round rasp to do this, but the radius on the rasp doesn't match the radius on the sheet metal, so I need to file with a sweeping curve to be able to conform to the shape on the sheet metal. Now my technique for doing this is to lock a hardwood stick up against the back of the plate and then to use that as a guide block for my file. So now I have a solid pivot point that I can use, so all I need to do is to just roll my file from side to side to file in a nice smooth curve. I use this technique mainly to establish the curve. Once I have a smooth curve, I can file normally with both hands. But when you cut a piece of sheet metal out with chisels, quite often there's nicks and burrs and little obstructions that you need to file past in order to get a smooth curve. So having a fulcrum to work up against really gives you that control that you need. And I'll use this same technique for doing the flat bevels. Here I'm using the guide block as a positive stop to make sure that I don't nibble back into the sharp shoulder that I'm trying to file in. And then I just basically use the same technique for the rest of the pieces. This is the plate I'm using to beef up the outside of the door latch, and it gets cleaned up exactly the same way. In this situation where I really can't lever the block up against something to give me some support, I'm just applying a lot of pressure downward on the block right on the top of the vise jaw. I really just need the block as a guide for the file. There really isn't much lateral pressure being applied by the file. It's just sliding past the block, but that positive stop just gives you the assurance that you need to apply a good amount of pressure to get the cut moving. And once again here you can see how I'm using the block as a fulcrum to be able to file a radius that's larger than the diameter of the file that I'm using. To shape the handles, I'm just going to use the decorative nut that I turned as a filing guide to get the contours round. Again, we're not looking for machine shop precision here. Anything that's reasonably concentric will be fine. The handle that has the peg sticking out is a little bit more tedious because I need to stop, take it out of the vise, and then check it, and then put it back in to continue filing. Sometimes when you're filing thin stuff like this, you'll get a harmonic going that'll just drive right through your skull. So I often use a pair of vice grips to try to dampen that vibration. The final piece that I need to work on is the spring for the latch. I'm going to be roughing out the tabs that I'm going to use to rivet the spring to the back plate. I'm also going to be filing out any imperfections in the actual spring. I want a very smooth surface, and I need to have a very smooth and gradual taper along the entire length of the spring. If I have any steps in the spring or any sharp corners or nicks, that will cause the spring to fail at some point. The last thing that I need to do to the spring is to fit a spacer block underneath the section of the spring that goes over top of the latch bar. The latch bar is thinner than the spring, so I need to put a spacer underneath the crossbar to make up that difference so the latch bar doesn't rattle around too much. So this is the general idea. Next time we'll put it all together and see if it works. Hi, I'm Dennis and thanks for watching. If you like this video, by all means give it a thumbs up. If you want to support this channel, you have a couple of options to do that. The first, of course, is to just subscribe. Secondly, if you have any suggestions or photographs of things you'd like to see on this channel, send them along and I'll do my best to turn them into a video. If you want to lend your financial support, you can do that in a couple of ways. First, if you're interested in making an ongoing contribution to this channel, just click the Patreon icon and it'll take you to my Patreon page and you can donate whatever amount you feel comfortable with. If you want to make a one-time contribution, just go to my channel homepage and click the donate button in the banner. So thank you for your support, and with your help I'll be doing this for some time to come. I'll see you next time.